Earlier, Art and I were chatting about both of us voting from home and how it changes things. More than 500,000 mail-in ballots were rejected, though, across 23 state primaries this year. Our guest today is voting rights expert and attorney Richard C. Bell, and he's the author of the new book, Voting, The Ultimate Act of Resistance. Richard, thanks for joining Art and me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
I guess the number one question on everybody's mind is how can we avoid this from happening in November?
Oh, best question you could ask on this topic. And I would say my first three rules are early, 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 and rule number 4 is make a plan. And the way to do that is to know all the procedures and all the deadlines, and you can go to vote.org. It's a nonpartisan website, or locally in Missouri, you can go to your Secretary of State, which is sos.mo.gov. So you can learn about all the deadlines and all the rules.
So, Richard, there are multiple reasons why ballots are rejected. What are some of the most common reasons?
Okay, by far the most common reason is the ballot is late, and late means different things in different states. In Missouri right now, you have 3 lawsuits going on. You've got the Cole County one that looks like it's going up to the Supreme Court. You've got another Cole County one that has a trial starting next week, and you got a federal one. So right now, for purposes of all the voters out there, especially in Missouri, you got to remember right now it has to be received by, your ballot has to be received by Election Day. And for most voters, because you distinguish between absentee ballots, people with excuses, and mail-in, has to be done for the most part, at least for the mail-in people, by actual post office. So I would send that thing back the moment I get it. The second big reason they get rejected is signature matching problems, meaning the ballot comes in, the outer envelope has a signature on it, they think it doesn't match. And one of those lawsuits in Missouri is about whether the voter should be notified about that so they can cure it. Because what happens is, obviously, sometimes our signature changes as we get older. Sometimes it changes because of a disability. So that's another big problem. Those are the 2 major problems in ballot rejection.
So, Richard, are voters not notified if their ballot is denied?
Only 20, I think it's now up to 21 states do that. That's what one of the lawsuits in Missouri is about, that the voter should be notified and given an opportunity to cure it. So the majority of the states do not notify you. A number of states have ballot tracking, which requires you to be proactive, go online, see what's happening with your ballot, which very few people obviously do. So, yeah, the answer to that is most states do not notify you.
You were talking about the deadline requirements varying from state to state. I understand voting is a state issue largely, but it seems like it would make sense to have standardized deadline requirements in all 50 states.
Yeah, Art, actually back in 2019, one of the first bills passed by the new House was called H.R. 1, and it was all about reforms like automatic voter registration and same-day registration and early voting and increasing polling places. And your suggestion today is obviously excellent. I understand that it's administered by the states, but there's no reason they can't all follow some kind of a unified, universal way of doing it.
So, Richard, can we go over your basic advice and the websites for our listeners so that they can make sure to get their ballot in on time?
Most important, early, 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 make a plan, go to either vote.org, or in Missouri, you can also go to sos.mo.gov, because then you'll know the rules, and if anything has changed because of any of these lawsuits, you'll find out about that. But you can avoid all problems by doing it as early as possible. And obviously, if you feel safe about voting in person, you should do that as well, of course.
Richard Bell, a voting rights expert and attorney and author of the new book, Voting, The Ultimate Act of Resistance. Thank you so much for joining Art and me here in St. Louis.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you for covering such an important topic.